Welcome to Dee's Media World. Here we are with the first episode of Inuyasha in my Inuyasha review series. So the first episode is called "The Girl Who Overcame Time and the Boy Who Was Just Overcome," referencing to I guess Kagome Inuyasha. So we begin this episode with Inuyasha basically breaking into the temple, stealing the Shiko no Tama, which is the Jewel of Four Souls, and then he leaves. And then Kikyo comes and basically shoots him to the tree, and then we see that she dies. And if you're familiar with the show at all, you already know the story. It's gonna come back plenty of times. It's definitely gonna be talked about a lot more. But that's just sort of how the show's introducing us to the two of the main characters of the show, Inuyasha himself and then Kikyo. After that, we meet Kagome at her shrine, and we learn that she's about to be 15 tomorrow, and that she lives in a shrine, but she never really believed any of the stories that her grandfather tells her, and that, there's nothing much going on with that part. We learn a little bit about her. She has a grandpa, a mom, and a brother that she lives with, and a cat named Buyo, they're looking for, her and her brother are looking for near the shrine, near the old well, and what do you know, she goes in there and tries to find Buyu, and a big shining light appears, steals Kagome out of from where she is, and takes her down the well into feudal Japan, basically. Mistress Centipede is her name. It never occurred to me the first time I've seen this episode, which actually was not the first episode I saw of Inuyasha. The first one I saw is much later on. I think it's the episode that has more to do with Kiki. I was never fully sure when I first saw it, because I actually was introduced to Inuyasha when I was flipping channels one day on television, and then I was on Adult Swim, and I saw this Kagome, or it was Kikyo doing something, and Inuyasha. It was not the first episode. I want to say it was when Kikyo comes back, so that's around episode 15 or so. And I was hooked since then. But this was not actually the first episode I saw. But it didn't occur to me till a couple times I've seen this first episode that Kagome gets stolen from, because she has the Shikon Duo inside her. But we have never, has she never been in there before? Or is it because she's 15 that it matters? Why exactly was it today that she goes in there that she gets taken away? They don't say that this is the first time she's been in there or anything, so I find that interesting. I guess it was just coincidental. Maybe she had to be the right age. I don't know. But anyway, she gets stolen, literally, by Mistress Centipede. She pushes her away. Kagome pushes Mistress Centipede away which assumes to be some power from the Shiko no Tama, which is Jewel 4 Souls, pushes her away, and then she's gonna be back. But for now, Kagome's safe, and she is in feudal Japan. And she says this line, Toto, we're not in Tokyo anymore, which is clearly a reference to Wizard of Oz. And yeah, and the way I'm watching it is that I actually have the DVDs of the show that I got on a website called iOffer, and I'm watching it on my TV, but I also have the Japanese subtitles, the English subtitles that are from the Japanese version. So I know what both versions are saying. And in the Japanese version, she does not say anything referencing the Wizard of Oz at all, which is funny. That's on the American, they Americanized it a little bit with that. She's walking along. She sees the sacred tree, which is kind of the only connection she kind of has between both worlds, is the sacred tree that is still there, because this is 500 years in the past. 500 years later, apparently the sacred tree is still there. And she sees Inuyasha, and the first thing she thinks to do is to touch his ears, and she plays with them for a little while. And they make this really goofy sound when she's rubbing his ears. I can't even, it's a really goofy sound they make when she's rubbing his ears, which is funny. I just find it funny that that's the first thing she thought. I wonder how he gets pinned to this tree, and is he still alive or anything? I wonder how his ears feel. That's the first thing she wonders. The villagers see her, and they basically tie her up, and she meets Kaede for the first time. And Lady Kaede throws some salt at her, or throws something at her, thinking she's probably is a monster or something, or a demon. which is really funny because she's dressed weird. Everyone's talking about how she's dressed and everything. And even Kagome's freaked out, like, who are these people and why they all have top knots? um, let's see. Mistress Sis she hangs out with Kaya to get some dinner because after they realize she's not a demon, they're like, oh, and she looks like Kikyo, who we saw in the beginning. And she gets a little bit of dinner, and then at night, Mistress Centipede comes back, and she attacks Kagome because she knows Kagome has a Shiko no Tama in her body, even though Kagome doesn't know that yet. And Kagome basically runs away from the village, so the villagers won't get hurt. Because that's kind of the kind of person Kagome is. She's actually pretty brave, and she's actually not as freaked out as you would think. She's just kind of confused, but she's bold, so she runs away. Runs, I think, coincidentally back to where Inuyasha's forest, which they call it that, where Inuyasha is, and she comes across him. He awakes, and I think it's because maybe because she has the Shiga no Tama in her. I don't know exactly why he awakes. Because she was there earlier, rubbing his ears. She was even closer to him actually, and he didn't awaken. I don't know. Something woke him up after all those years. It had to be Kagome somehow. Maybe it was just plot convenience. Like, okay, time for Inuyasha to wake up. He thinks it's Kikyo. He thinks Kagome's Kikyo. And he smells her blood. He thinks, oh, it's the woman who killed me. He says something like that. I'm like, well, you're still alive, but she pinned you to the tree. And we learn more about that later on. But anyway, realize it's Kagome. That is not Kikyo. Well, he doesn't care what her name is yet, but they actually was saying that they actually have their first argument when she's trying to convince him, like, I'm not this Kikyo person that you think I am. She pulls out the arrow from Inuyasha because Mr. Centipede is basically choking them, trying to crush them to death, basically. And she lets Inuyasha out. Inuyasha slays her. He absolutely slays her. Like, he does some type of a spin attack. I've never again have I seen that in the series. I've seen pretty much the whole series multiple times, and never have I seen him do anything like that again. He like this spinning kills her anyway. Kills her. Kaede, after Mr. Centipede, I forgot to say that she took the jewel out of Kagome's body. She bit it out of her body. Kagome doesn't seem to be in pain from that at all, but it is what it is. And Kaede gives her the jewel, and she's like, okay. And then Inuyasha himself kills Mr. Centipede, but he's like, okay, it's time to attack Kagome now. And Kagome reaction actually is kind of naive, but it's funny because that's might be when most people. She's like, he's not the hero, but he just saved. I'm like, were you paying attention? He's obviously not the hero. That's yet anyway. He's Inuyasha for now. And it kind of just ends with him threatening to kill Kagome or get to Jewel or whatever. And that's it. That's the first episode. A lot actually happens in this first episode after rewatching it. There's funny moments. There's kind of like the plot like starts. You start off. Everyone's probably wondering if you ever watched the show. This is your first time watching that show. You'll be like, what was the beginning about? Like the Kikyo and the throwing the what's the Shigo no Tama about? And it gives power. It gives power to those who try and use it, but it's never been known to be used for good. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but yeah, basically it's something that demons want to become more powerful. They talk a little bit about how Inuyasha's half demon, half human, and half demon, and you could kind of see those features in him. You definitely see the demon side, but the human side, I think, as the show progresses, had more to do with his personality than his actual appearance a little bit. Because he does later on become not sweeter, I guess, but more sympathetic to humans than other demons are. The episode ends with My Will, which is a really good song. It opens with, I forgot to mention, it opened with Change the World, which is a really upbeat song. What's funny is that Adult Swim didn't actually play the opening themes when I remember watching it on television. It would just start the episode, and then it would have the ending song, which I'm grateful for because they have excellent ending themes. My Will is really good. What's funny about the opening, going back to the opening, is that it has actually all the main characters in it, but we're not going to see all the main characters together till like episode 26 or so. I think Sango comes in like episode 25, and then there's some stuff that goes on with that. It's a while before you see her. And Shippo comes in about episode 8, and then Moroku comes in episode 15 or 16. I think it's 16 and or 17. And so I was kind of, it's obvious foreshadowing because it's like, oh, who are all those characters if you've never seen the show before? Um, so yeah, I would give this episode really fun. Um, I like it. I like that, you know, we learn a lot, and there's obviously going to be more to learn. It actually kind of ends on a cliffhanger because you're kind of like, oh, what's going to happen next? It kind of ends a little abruptly. Um, and then the ending theme is great. It has Songo, Kikyo, and Kagome in it. It has none of the male leads at all, and which is fun because it's funny because Songo does come in, as I mentioned, much later. So I'm interested to see where it goes, and what do you guys think? What do you guys think of the first episode? This is probably my fourth or fifth time seeing this episode, and I still enjoyed it the same. Um, it's really fun to watch. There's some funny, kind of goofy jokes in here. It's really the English version is pretty darn accurate to what they say in Japanese, which is one of the pluses of Inuyasha in general. Like one of the shows that gets critiqued for this the most is Sailor Moon, how like they basically changed so much from the Japanese version. Inuyasha is basically a direct translate for the most part. I mean, there's some jokes that the English definitely brings to the English version that the Japanese leaves out. There's some kind of American references a little bit, but it always has stayed true. Like the character names are all the same. Kagome, Inuyasha, Shippo, Sangamo. They don't change any of the names. They they even say in this first episode, Shiko no Tama, which is Jewel Four Souls. On the Inuyasha wiki, when I was looking at it said that this is the only time they say Shiko no Tama. Really, they don't really say the Japanese too much. Like they call it what do they call it? The Shiko and Jewel. They just call it that, which they call it in the Japanese version. But I really enjoyed this first episode. I don't want the video to be too long, so I'll see you in the next one. Inuyasha episode 1 out.